Yo, what is good? My anime people, what is good, yo? So, let's talk about these high school kids and this absolute hype episode and not even, I don't think people understand how ridiculous some of this stuff is to me. Like, to think that they're going this crazy with the overall blood and aspect of people actually getting hurt and whatnot has continued to shock me every time I see it in this show. Like, it just doesn't feel like it would be a part of this show in general for some reason to me, and to just see it at full blast, just someone not only getting grabbed up by these flame spirits and then turn into one. We see something very, very shocking when it came down to finding out just how um, magic kind of works in the grand scheme of, if you do choose to use magic, you do run the risks, like this guy just run the risk of actually taking full-blown damage because of the magic you're using. Which also, it sounds like he had to conjure up like people or something to do the flame, to like make the flame spirits even a thing. So he went through a lot of preparation. He just had all of it already prepped and ready to go to fight. But the weird part of it all was the fact of the matter when it came down to him um, showing us, not only what he was capable of doing or what he was going to do. He then shows us just how easy it was for him to do it without notice, without saying anything to anyone. With the Shinobi girl getting absolutely angry that, come to find out that uh, this guy just launched a full-blown attack, and you told no one in your whole entire, army and crew that it was coming. So that's a pretty hard knock on a samurai or like a shinobi who literally his only job was to give some like heads up and word um, to your team. So to see or hear that you failed that is a pretty big shocking blow to one's pride, and you could tell. Even the merchant can tell just over the phone. He's like, "Oh yeah, she's not too happy, is she?" She failed the one job she had, and she don't seem too happy about it. And yeah, she was not happy at all. So it's one of those things where they're just playing very well with the characters and how we should expect them to kind of act. Like, that's what I expected from the samurai girl, to be fair. Like, or God, I keep saying the samurai, from the shinobi, the ninja, because literally, yeah, like she had one job and she kind of messed it up kind of hard. So it must suck, but at the same time, we can also give her some credit, because if it wasn't for her in general, we wouldn't have had an idea of this guy being capable of magic, with getting a little bit of a warning from her, from what she's already heard that was going around about him. So there's that. Regardless of how all of that plays out, I really did dig just how things overall played out. Because not only do we get to see like the people kind of these main characters kind of failing when the title is like this is an easy thing for them, like this, there's not really much stress and stuff like that. Even then, the title kind of made you feel like, oh well, everything should be a walk in the park in this show for these kids and whatnot. And it doesn't really seem to be the case, right? Like, it honestly feels like more or less of the times they're struggling pretty heavily, and because of the struggle, it comes down to them learning more and more about like magic, or it comes down to learning, just new stuff in general when it comes to how things are playing out. But I don't know. I'm interested to seeing what people are feeling on this show at the end of it all, because I really did not expect it to be going this hard in the paint with some the blood and the fighting that they show, including when the characters we're watching aren't really doing much of anything at this point because they can't. They're not allowing our characters to just do stuff because there's nothing for a lot of them to do. And let's talk about the my wifey, the one that saves the day, who kind of proves she's one of the most brokenest characters out there in these types of worlds when it comes down to, not only is she, I think, the first one out of all of our fateful seven, or like our the people we're looking forward to saving the world, we get this weird moment where she can not only run at the top speed of a missile that's using, like, straight up all different types of jet proportions to just blast itself full speed, but then she stops it like mid while it's going as fast as possible. I'm pretty sure the girl with the rabbit has no control over the missile once it's launched, besides where it kind of continues to go and where it's just going in general. uh, it went from that all the way to this samurai girl pretty much just handling it by herself, kicking on and off the power pretty much. Like, she wasn't literally turning on and off the power, but you would think she was, right? Like, when she literally goes all the way up in the air, the rocket dies, and then when it starts falling, the rocket comes back on and pretty much saves her in that regard. But somehow, some way, after doing this like 3 times, kicking on and off the rocket without saying anything or without having a button supposedly on it just to push, and it happens. It was very strange. It was really strange that this still worked out so perfectly fine, and they kind of just don't say anything about it, right? They kind of just write it off as, yeah, that happened, and we're proud of it. Um, but yeah, since it was my samurai wifey, it's okay. It all works out really fine for us in the end of the day, because she's the only one that truly should be able to do it. She's a super swords woman. Okay, it's normal, guys. Just let it be a thing. But yeah, with her doing this, it can only mean good things for our characters in the future, in the case of like getting stronger, in the case of having someone who is absolutely ridiculously powerful enough to throw a spear to change its trajectory while it's being attacked in the air, but at the same time you taking a full blunt of the damage once you put a projection of yourself up from the same spear. So I wasn't if I wasn't clear, it wasn't him. It wasn't the spear that took damage and blew up, and he took the damage from it. It's when he made an astral projection of himself, and the girl literally does like the first spells thing she's ever done, which is like a wind tornado. Uh, and once she does this, that is what actually, when she cut off both arms on the actual projection of the flames, that's what damage he actually takes, which is pretty spot on when it comes down to the details. So I'm not even angry about that. I did feel like the missile was a huge budget part of this show. Like, they put everything into that missile scene, because she literally was just riding a missile like it was a mechanical bull that was cut off, like a real bull, but it was still mechanical somehow. I'm sorry. But yes, it's definitely one of these things now that whatever we watch this show, it's something that we kind of have to remember, is that one of these girls can straight up hop on a missile, and not only hop on it, she can also direct it. She can manipulate it and make it dodge stuff on just seeing it within a moment's notice. Like, these are all things that were just proven with this one single episode. So I think there's a lot more for them to show, if I'm not mistaken. And as of now, we're definitely in a position where we're going to see more and more of these characters gain magic, with now the elf girl kind of understanding her role, and seeing that she saw all this information about magic, and she saw just in general what magic itself is capable of. She wants in on it. She literally understood it. She pretty much was the only reason why we came out living. I mean, sure, our main character supposedly was already going to attack the missile, but it made it seem like they both came up with the idea at the same time, instead of just him guessing, like, if I attack the spear, maybe it will do something I need it to do. Instead of doing that, they're like, okay, well, let's have this third party that we haven't explain stuff for us. Like that, there we go, we're done. Case solved. So I'm pretty happy with what we're probably going to achieve at the end of the day with this show. I feel like we've already gotten some pretty useful information as a whole. Like, not only do we know how strong our characters can probably become when it came down to attacking this spirit, the overall astral projection, and taking both of its arms of somebody who clearly has probably been dealing with this magic and dealing with this type of power for much, much longer than anybody that they've gone against thus far. And to think that she kind of just throws out this one attack and it actually does damage, it's cool to see. We just got to now see where it can lead us in the grand scheme of the show. So with all that being said, though, I hope you guys having an amazing day, night, evening, whatever the case may be. I am your boy, the Anime G, and I will definitely talk to you in the next one. So with all that being said, take care and peace.